Yeah. What's your favourite film of the year?
My favourite film of the year is something that's totally the opposite.
Totally the opposite.
Pretty much. And it's an oddball in this director's canon. It's The Wind Rises, which I have on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Technically it came out in 2013 in Japan.
Yeah.
But it was released widely in America and the UK this year, so
we'll count it.
We'll count it.
Yeah.
I adored The Wind Rises. For the first time I watched it, I wasn't too sure. I liked bits of it, but parts I didn't like.
Yeah.
On a rewatch, I think the whole thing just comes together. Yeah. Really nicely. Essentially, it follows the story of a young man called Hiro, he's a real person. Yeah. He's a World War II fighter engine pilot who actually made the planes for World War II for Japanese. But it doesn't really focus on that aspect. It focuses more on his life and just him growing up through basically one of Japan's most turbulent eras. Yeah. You know, so he falls in love. He falls out of love. You know, he gets sick, and you essentially there's no story to it. You kind of just following this guy's life as he's growing up. In terms of a Miyazaki canon, it's bizarre. It stands out like a sore thumb. Yeah. Most of his films are heavily punctuated by fantasy elements or dream elements or stuff that pushes it into the fantastic.
Well, I've seen most of that film Spirited Away.
Oh, yes.
And bits of that Howl's Moving Castle.
Yes, yeah.
So I know sort of the style that it's done in the early ones, but this is not like that.
Nothing really, no. There's it's definitely not reality. Yeah. It's a heightened reality. So like I think he more like the actual story of the guy, the actual real life story of the guy. It's not really anything like what happened in the movie. Yeah. But the stuff happened in Japan, the historical events it touches upon, that is real. Yeah. You know, that stuff that actually happened. But Miyazaki heightens it. You know, he pushes it almost into the realm of fantasy while keeping it grounded. Yeah. No pun intended. And there are dream sequences, but the dream sequences are more to illustrate the character's ambition and drive. Yeah. It's ultimately a really inspirational movie because it's all about trying to attain your dreams. Yeah. You know, it's your single-mindedness and trying to reach a goal, basically. Yeah. And ultimately, at the end of the film, spoilers, the character attains his goal, but he's left a broken man. Yeah. Essentially, he's kind of destroyed because the love of his life dies of I can't say that.
Oh, I remember bits of it. Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis, yeah.
This film was... the only thing I remember about this was there was a big argument about whether it was misogynist. When it came out. I remember this now, yeah, because doesn't she play sort of a standardised, like... she gets tuberculosis. There were loads of films that had that sort of trope in it at the time. Yeah, yeah. And this was one that I remember. Yeah, I remember hearing about this a lot.
People mentioned it. Yeah. I mean, like for me, like I'm giving it a pass because that actually was an event.
Oh, right. Like, did she actually die of tuberculosis?
Not to my knowledge, but like there was a huge epidemic in Japan at the time of the film is set, so it would make sense for Miyazaki to use that. But he's more using it to make, I think, a point. Yeah. About what it means to be an artist. Yeah. So like I says, at the end of the film, he reaches his ambition. So ultimately, at the end of the film, Jiro makes the fighter pilot he's been dreaming of, but of course it's used to murder millions and millions of people, and then the love of his life has died. Yeah. So at the end of the film, it's left a bit ambiguous.
I like films like this, where it's about like ambition and artist dreams and stuff.
There's a really haunting bit at the end of the film when the character's in his dream world, because he dreams about this Italian pilot who designed these amazing planes, and him and this Italian pilot share the same dreams. Yeah. Literally, like, they share the same dream.
Ah, that's pretty cool.
And at the end of the film, you know, it shows off, like, you know, the planes flying in the sky and these amazing inventions. But then at the end of the film, there's almost like a graveyard of planes, so, you know, all his hopes and dreams and ambitions are kind of vaulted. So ultimately, I don't really know what Miyazaki's trying to say. I think he's kind of trying to say that, you know, it's possible to achieve your dreams and your artistic ambitions, but ultimately you have to sacrifice stuff, and you have to live with your sacrifices. The first time I watched the film, I was trying to more watch it as an autobiography of this guy's life, which it isn't. It's not really about that. It's more Miyazaki trying to talk about what he's interested in, which, like I said, is the artistic pursuit.
Yeah.
And so the main character's left broken at the end.
Yeah.
I've only seen the Japanese version, but I've heard the dub is quite decent.
Okay.
It's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it as the main guy. It's got Emily Blunt as his love, Nahako.
Is she well developed? His love interest.
She
I
is
think that and all had a bit of problems.
She is the weakest element of the film.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because Miyazaki normally writes really, really strong female characters. That's one of his things.
Yeah.
She's kind of a bit, she's a bit simpering.
Oh.
But I think she works within The Wind Rises.
Okay.
I think it does work. It is an element that doesn't sit right with me. She is kind of underdeveloped a bit.
Yeah.
But there are some really touching moments. Like when she's dying and Jiro's working on his work and stuff. Doing it together and so that's probably one weak element of the film. But the overall effect, I think, is engrossing.
Yeah.
It's really adult. I can't see this really appealing to kids.
No.
In the same way that Howl's Moving Castle or Spirited Away did.
Yeah.
And just as a filmmaker, I love and respect a lot. It's just nice seeing him cap off his legacy, basically. Yeah. Miyazaki said he's going to retire on multiple occasions, but this time I believe it.
Yeah.
Miyazaki's passion is flying and planes, so it just seems appropriate that his final film is a love letter to his passion.
Is this the film Cars should have been?
Yeah, basically, it should have been, And needless to say, the animation's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. There's some amazing sequences when it's the earthquake, the huge one in the 20s, and the ground literally goes up and down, up and down. It's just the most amazing visuals. So it's visually amazing. The story and the characters are really engaging, especially Jiro. I think he got criticised a little bit, but I think when you get past what you get what the film's trying to do, it all kind of clicks into place a little bit, and some of the elements that don't really sit quite as right start to make sense.
Yeah. Where would you put this in the Studio Ghibli canon? I know you said Princess Mononoke was your favourite film, so it's not going to be better than that.
No, it's not as good as that. I think it's about midway for Miyazaki.
Midway?
Yeah, I think it's definitely in the top 10 best Ghibli films.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I don't think it's Miyazaki's best. I think Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle are better.
Yeah.
I think Totoro's better.
Yeah.
I think Ponyo's better.
Ponyo.
I love Ponyo.
I only know. I thought that was meant to be like a kiddie version.
Oh, Ponyo's awesome. Ponyo's a great film. No, it ties with Ponyo.
Yeah.
So it still ranks really high for me, though. It is a really great movie. And it's better than most of the other things that Ghibli puts out.
Yeah.
Because apart from the Miyazaki stuff, I think the rest of it's a bit middling.
Didn't they do Grave with the Fireflies?
Well, yeah, with the exception of that.
Yeah.
With the exception of Grave with the Fireflies and a couple of Isao Takahata's movies, he did Grave with the Fireflies. He did a really good film called Only Yesterday, which is really underrated and really good. Yeah. Other than that, I think the output's a bit mixed. Some great stuff, some really bad stuff, but Miyazaki's the king. Yeah. And I think more for my personal attachment for director, I've kind of put it as my number one. There are problems with the film. Yeah. I will freely admit that, but for me it just worked really, really well. I really, really loved it. Yeah. And that's why Wind Rises is my favourite film of the year.